Hello, hello. Is my microphone working? No, are you watching? Give me a sound check if anyone's watching, just to make sure my microphone is working here. Test, test, 1, 2, 3. Hello, hello. Should be working. Sound check, anyone? Ah, great. Thank you. All right, so I've got two models that I want to demo today on making supports. One of them is this watch face from Tiffany, and the other one is a Han Solo bus from Helios. So we'll do this one first. The watch face is pretty simple. The program I'm in at the moment is Flash Print, and I've done heaps of streams and tutorials on this program already. So if you just maybe click on my name in the Facebook group, you should be able to see the past stream recordings. But yeah, so I've already spent 5 minutes just looking at the model and then just doing the orientation. So this is what I came up with. But to get to that, I'm just going to load the model and then I'll just move that one out of the way. All right, so in Flash Print, there's a few really good features that will tell you, that will show you visually things you need to be aware of. So the first thing, obviously, is strong overhangs. So you see this red part on the model, that's basically telling you it's over the overhang threshold, which means you'll need to add supports. And you can change the, it's called the steep overhang in the view section. And you can set the angle that you want it to display. So set it to 45. So I found if you on the Photon anyway, if you're printing a model that's sort of growing by itself without too many islands, a 60-degree setting works quite well. So when you're orientating your print as well, you want to basically grow the model from itself. So right now at this point, the model is going to grow from these two areas, and somehow it needs to sort of join up perfectly. So if it doesn't, then you'll get misprints. Whereas if we just simply rotate it like this, it's just going to have the one contact point to grow from. Just makes things a bit easier. Obviously, you're still going to have islands here that will need to match up, but yeah, that's just the way printing works. But to minimize the problem of failed prints, it's best just to grow from a single point. So I'm going to delete this one and then bring this one back. So you can see in here, there's pretty much no overhangs that are over 60 degrees besides this area, which is pretty awesome because that means you won't need a whole bunch of supports all around the parameter. So whether you do your supports in FlashPrint or some other program, the orientation of this model will still work. But I'm just going to do the supports in FlashPrint. And I'm using True Support. And I've got the overhang angle set to 60 like the preview. You can set it to something lower if you want. Let's do 55 just in case. Now you'll notice here the base height is set to 4 millimeter, so which means we want to move the model up in the Z. So 6 millimeter, so a 2 millimeter gap works. I'm going to hit auto support. So yeah, that's with the tree-like auto support. It's not too bad, but there's a couple of things we can do to just mitigate any sort of weird printing issues, such as the supports snapping off around here. So the angle is just a little bit too steep. What FlashPrint likes to do is put the base from a single point, just like I explained with the orientation. It just helps with the printing, but in this case, or in most cases, you'll want to just add a bit more structure to these. So you can see it's also added in these tiny little supports here, which should be fairly easy to dig out, but for this particular print, you won't need it. It's such a small area, it should just build on itself fine. So I'm just going to add a few more manual supports, going to the base. And you want these to be as straight as possible. So it may take a few tries. Now, obviously, if you look at this whole section up the top is going to be dependent on these supports working. And these supports all depend on this one single branch support. So that's a big no-no, because if this branch fails in any way, then all this up here is not going to print. So we'll just want to add a few more. And try and make it straight if you can. So I should mention FlashPrint is a free program which you can download. Just Google FlashPrint. Yeah. Supports all the operating systems now, which is pretty good. Hopefully the internet's not lagging too bad here in Australia. We're known to have really shit internet. You can see what I'm doing. So once you've added the extra sort of supporting supports, we can go in and manually add these struts to help the support even more. These are kind of fun. Just make sure that you know, these critical supports here don't wobble or snap off. Just like building a high-rise. That's pretty good. So this little guy here should be okay, but once again, you're depending on this main structure to work. So let's just do this. Yep, that's fine. And you can see I can, you know, go in and delete and Control Z and undo and all of the normal stuff that a program should have. No, it's probably not you, Tiffany. It's probably my internet here. The hamsters are running really slow today. Okay, so we get to the critical part where the entire print is going to be spawned from this section. So you want to make sure that this particular area is as well supported as possible. Just means though you will need to have additional cleanup just down in this corner. So try and avoid letting flash print do harsh angles like this. It'll be fine, but if you can avoid it and give it extra support, then you know, by all means do that. It feels like I need to put in a support here. You can risk it and not have those. I think it's worth it. Again, same deal here. Just make sure that these are well supported. So this whole section is obviously going to be dependent on this tiny little support here not failing in any way. So you want to make sure that, yeah, that's not going to fail. Give it a helping hand. I think that's looking pretty good. So one thing as well with flash print, you can actually go in and do like a cross section as you normally would in like an FDM printer. I see Chitu are actually releasing a new version of the anacubic photon slicer, and that looks like it has a bunch of brand new functions and tools to help with supports. Looks really good, to be honest. So hopefully I won't need to use another program like FlashPrint to do supports anymore. Can't wait to try it out, to be honest. Looks really good. So I'm going to call this done. And then I'm going to send the file to you, Tiffany, and you can give it a try and tell me whether it works or not. I mean, it looks like it should print, right? So I'm going to slice this and then throw it into the Photon validator, and we'll just have a quick look. So let me just save this working project. So yeah, this is obviously the minimal support possible to get the file printed. If you want it to be more safe, you could add just supports like this. You don't obviously have to cover everything with supports, but even just one or two around the side, yeah, will help. I'm just going to leave it at that for now. And I'm going to save this out as STL. So you need to change the format down here to STL. Otherwise, you're just saving it as a FlashPrint project. That's fine. It's just saying it's going to bake in the supports to the model. So I'm going to slice this at 0.05, and you can change the exposure in the validator anyway, so I'll leave that part up to you. I'll give it a quick once over. It looks fine. And just a force of habit, I just remove any weird characters, underscores in my file name. Just use letters. So around 4 hours, the slicer is telling us, but we all know that's incorrect. So we need to bring that into the validator. We've got some errors popping up, which is interesting. Let's have a look at the information first. So the correct time will be around 5 hours. It's using 11 mils of resin. That's all good. Yeah, so these are all tiny little errors that the automatic fix button is going to just fix straight away for you, which I'm going to press now. So see all these layers have 1 pixel errors. The validator is awesome too at fixing those errors or islands. It's just the resolution of the LCD isn't pretty much isn't enough to pick it up as as a straight line, so it'll split it out as a single pixel, which will throw up errors. Now, these single pixel errors aren't really going to affect your print that much. But hey, look at that. It's actually fixed everything. So no layers have islands. Job done. And let me just hide this. Scroll up. Always double check this before I save it and hit print just to make sure things are growing properly. Not sure what this hole is. It's weird. Yeah. What are these holes here? I didn't see them in the model. Ah, these things. Alright. Maybe. Did they go all the way through? Oh no, they just go, they just sit inside in the solid model. That should be fine. You will get sort of little suction vacuum issues, but the hole's so small, should be okay. So that's all good. So I'm going to save the file. I'm going to call this fixed. And Tiffany, I will upload this for you, and you can use a validator to change the exposure time to whatever your resin's using, and just resave it. It should be good to go. Let us know how it goes after the printing. Hopefully it all goes well. And yeah, I might jump on now and do the support on the Han Solo bus by Helios. So if you want to stick around and watch how I do that one, feel free. Give me a sec. I'm just going to upload this file. Actually, I can't upload while I'm streaming. It just slows down the internet too much. Sorry. So I will upload it after the stream's over, and then shoot you through a PM with the link. But yeah, feel free to stick around and watch how I do the supports with this guy. So the model is not hollow. I don't have time to. Well, do I have time to do the hollowing? Let's have a look. We'll see how complicated it is. So I'm using Meshmixer for my hollowing and keying. All right, Helios, this one's for you, buddy. Yeah, so just looking at the model, these tiny little overhangs inside. They're going to cause issues with printing. So it's a nice model, but it's definitely not, hasn't been sculpted for optimal printing. So like you probably just want the little gaps in there to be half of that, and then the rest is just a solid model. So we're going to have difficulties hollowing this, I would say, but let's have a look. Yeah, so it's already picked up some errors in here. So first things first, let me just run a quick model inspector. Let's see if we can fix these little errors. It's done a pretty good job. Excellent. So it looks like the vertices weren't merged together on those particular parts. Alright, so edit and then hollow. I'm going to set the offset, which is the thickness, to 1.5 mils. So that's not too bad, but with this particular model, if we hollow out this particular section here of the base, it's going to create some bad suctioning, and I don't want to put holes down the bottom here for venting. So this is going to be quite advanced, but what I'm going to do is just save this hollow, split it out, and then cut the inner hollow to just above the neck, so we just get a hollow section for the head. Yeah, okay, so these words are separate. They haven't been modeled into the bust. So what I'm going to do for you, buddy, I am going to not print these words out just to make sure that your print is going to work properly. So we're looking at the inner part of the model, and it's got the stripy texture to it. It's because it's the normals are flipped. So if you want to work on the model, you need to make sure you flip the normals. And that's all good. Okay, so what I'm going to do is now slice this. But yeah, you've picked a model that's pretty sort of tricky to print here, Helios. But that's fine. Now what I'm going to do next is just smooth out some of these weird overhangs and cavities, just to make sure no resin sort of gets trapped inside. When you're doing this, be careful that you're only sort of pushing in, deflating the model, and not inflating the model, which will make the walls too thin. So that's why I use a 1.5 mil thickness. These programs aren't 100% accurate, so anything lower than a 1 mil thickness of the walls and and start running into issues. So again, just pushing these in by smoothing them out, just so there's no weird overhangs. You don't have to do this, but it's just me wanting to make sure that things print out properly. And look, if you spend your time doing all this stuff, you don't end up wasting a bunch of resin, and your prints come out nice the first time. So that's all right. Just gonna run the mesh inspector again. Just make sure there's no weird holes in this. Okay. Helios, how did I separate the words? So if you select your model, go to edit and then separate shells, anything that's not connected as a single watertight piece will be separated as a separate shell. And those generally won't print correctly unless they're sort of completely sitting inside the model. So just bear that in mind when you're printing as well. Okay, so this is the inside, and then we've got the outside. So the next thing I need to do, the critical part, is to add a vent hole for air to go in as the printer prints this top section. Without that vent hole, you'll have just a vacuum inside the volume here, which is going to cause you all sorts of problems. So and actually I might just smooth this out, sorry. Not really a fan of what's going on here. Should be alright, I guess. It's on the inside, so I just want to give it some thickness. There we go, it's a bit better. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is to add a vent hole and then merge it into the inner part, and then subtract the entire inner part from the outside part, which will make a cavity inside the model and with the vent hole as well. So in here, there's some generic primitive shapes, and the cylinder works quite well as a vent hole. So we'll just drag and drop that into this section. You want to make sure that that the part isn't going through the model like that, and you also want to make sure that it is long enough that it cuts out through the actual front side of the model as well. So we're essentially cutting out this section from the outside. Hopefully that kind of makes sense. But before we can do that, we need to combine these two. So the cylinder is an object by itself along with the inner part. So we want to do a Boolean union to combine those. And if I press W, you can see the wireframe of the model. So just select these two and then go Boolean union. and you'll see it's actually combined these two pieces into one single piece. I untick auto reduce results and then use intersection curve. Just gives a neater, more accurate Boolean. Hit accept. So now this is actually one single piece of geometry. So now we can go and subtract this from the outside. Just gonna save it before I do the Boolean. So this part gets pretty computationally heavy. So just save. Sometimes it can crash. So just save your work before doing that. And I select the inner and then select the outer. Shift select, and then do a Boolean difference. And I have selected the parts in the wrong order, so it's done the reverse, so that's fine. Just hit cancel. So select the outer part first, and then shift select the inner part. There we go. So now we have a perfect cavity that's roughly 1.5 mil thick with a nice big drain hole down here for air to get in there. Now these settings, once again, untick auto reduce results and then use intersection curves. And you'll see these edges are now much cleaner, much more accurate. If I toggle on wireframe, so you can see the inner part is joined with the outer part with a vent hole. Accept. Okay, so now we have a watertight mesh that is hollowed with a vent hole. So we'll save this out as an STL, and then we'll bring that into Flash print for supports. So back in Flash print, I just load the model. Han Solo. Oh man, Johnson Yee, sorry dude, I'm terrible at reading Chinese, and the in chat it doesn't let me use the translation. I'll have to check your question later. Sorry, mate. Okay, so this is a hollow model. Just double check it. Yep. And then we can do the cross section in here as well, just to check it. Yeah, that's all hollow. So this one, let me think. You could print it flat and just have the supports going down here, down the chin, down there. But let's try it on angle. So once again, if you pay attention to the overhang angle indicator in red, it's going to tell you, which section will need support. So just rotate it until most of it is gone. You can have some, but look at that. So just by simply rotating it, we've basically removed the need to add supports to the chin. Now it's going to print without any supports. But one thing to be aware of is when we are doing that, you'll be adding overhangs in this section here. So the angle is going to get steeper here. So you need to find a happy balance. And if we need to have one or two supports in the chin, so be it. But you want to try and avoid supports in the details, right? So no supports in the eyes or on the face. And obviously there's going to be a shit ton of supports down here, which is fine. It's in the back and it's nice and flat, which you can easily sand that without any issues. And I'm also going to turn on the island indicator or show model outline. Oop, not that one, sorry. Yeah, so if you go into supports, you have this island checker outline thing, which you also have in the Photon and other programs. So it's just a good way to check for islands. And we'll probably need supports just underneath the ears here. So you see how that's, hopefully everybody knows what an island is, but you'll see that the ears are growing from this tip here, this section, which means you'll definitely need supports. Otherwise it might print out flat. Otherwise it's not too bad. Should be okay. So let's stick with this orientation. But I will need to move the model up so it's not penetrating into the floor. And then I'm gonna hit center and then move it up another 6mm. So we have enough room for supports down the bottom. Alrighty, so once again, go into supports and you can check the options here using 55°, using tree-like supports. So for models that have fine detail, I like to use thinner supports, 1.4. We'll just see how that goes. Yeah, it looks pretty good. So straight off the bat, it's done a pretty good job from what I can see. So obviously, you're going to have to deal with these supports in the cleanup process, but it's just a flat surface. So just sand the shit out of it and you'll be fine. It's not a deal breaker. And these supports in the back, again, easy to sand. Can't see it, who cares? So let's just check out the inside and see what sort of internal supports it's done. Yeah, cool. So it supported the overhangs on the inside. The reason why you need supports on the inside of the model, on a hollow model, is so it doesn't end up collapsing on itself. The inside of the model will also suffer from overhangs and islands and stuff like that. So if you don't support these, you'll end up getting bits of resin stuck on the fed, which is just going to cause you printing errors further on down the print. So I always leave internal supports on. I haven't had to add or modify any internal supports. They've generally been all pretty good. But what you will need to do is go in and then add supports, as in my previous example, to give it more structure, and then less of these. really long, harsh angles here. You just need to go in and just make sure that these come straight down. So buddy, I am not going to do all these additional supports for you. You can do them yourself. Just go and download FlashPrint, and I will save this project for you, so you can just load up the project and then just add the supports, extra supports in there. So you need to do this, and then don't forget to add the cross beams afterwards. That. Now, regarding these supports on the ears, they're not too bad. I would just leave them, maybe. I mean, that's some crazy angle it's decided to use. So maybe just do this. There you go. Do this. So pay attention here how it's only just got one main support down the bottom here. If anything happens to this particular point and the support breaks off, then you'll have problems going all the way up here. So just add another support down here. So it's got, if this one breaks, at least you'll have this one to take over. This crazy stuff up here, you won't need it. Gotta delete it. The Photon will print those just fine. I mean, it's such a small contact area. Even if it doesn't print out exactly as it is, you won't notice it. So you can go through and delete these or leave them. I don't think they will matter too much. You won't be able to see it anyway, so just leave it in there. Okay, so I am going to bail. You guys have any questions in chat that I can quickly show you? Answer for you, I mean. So let's have a look and see if we were to print this flat, what support it would have done. And I think you're going to be surprised at how many supports will end up on his face, which is definitely not what you want. So what I'm doing, just leaving it as it is, printing flat on the base, and then doing auto supports. We'll see what it comes up with. So it actually hasn't done too bad of a job. I thought it would have added all supports here on the eyes, covered the whole face up with supports, but I mean, that's actually not too bad. That's actually using less supports than the angled version. So yeah, I'll leave it up to you, Helios, on how you want to print this guy. Might print fine with just sitting flat on the base. You might just have a hard time trying to scrape this base off the build plate. But yeah, this might work. But obviously with stuff like this, you still need to make sure that they all go straight down. Johnson, thinner support. Sorry, you've actually put in the translation in there. I apologize, didn't see those. Angled or flat? Well, it's up to you, man. I think it should print fine flat. You just have a little bit more supports to remove on the face. I'll leave that up to you. You can do both and get back to me and tell us which one worked better. So, Johnson, I asked, there are 3 hair supports behind the neck. Do you have a better way to set thinner support? Well, you can just adjust the, so with flash print, you can manually set the additional supports to the thickness that you want. So at the moment it's set to 1.4 mil. If I set this to 2 just for demonstration, and then add new supports, so you can add new supports that are different thickness. That's fine, but you can't modify existing auto supports or existing support set afterwards. So I can't go in here and then try and select this and change the thickness. Doesn't really work like that. So yeah, you can add in supports there. But this is 1 mil supports. It's nice and thin. So that's it, guys. Hopefully it helped. It's always better to demonstrate things with your own sort of model that you've been struggling with. So that's why I've decided to demonstrate this with 2 models from members on the group. I might do more of these in the future. So if you have a print that you've tried quite a few times to support and without success, give me a shout. And I might do a few of these in a row like I've done today. So have a good day, everyone. Thanks for watching.